Hey everybody, my name is Austin Staten, and today we're going to be looking at uh, the Lakota Sioux tribe via story maps. Um, I apologize for my terrible pronunciation of some of these words, but I will do my best. Um, the Lakota Sioux, otherwise known as the Ocheti Shakowin, or the Seven Council Fires. I'm gonna try not to beat around the bush here. History has not been kind, especially in the Americas, to native tribes. Um, and we're gonna go over quite a bit of that here. But first things first, I kind of want to just talk about something that's really interesting and cool. It's a little bit on a brighter note. Um, this is what's called a winner count. A winner count was and is essentially a pictorial calendar used by the Lakota people. Essentially, it is. I mean, it's a form of record keeping. Um, a lot of Western eyes don't really take into consideration that many natives, including the Lakota, were very much in in the idea of keeping track and collecting knowledge. Um, the the winter counts were, well, of course, as the name states, to count the winners, count um, different different stories. They were essentially a a way of passing down, like, the quote unquote torch. Um, yeah, and they're really interesting. So you should look into it. Unfortunately for the people, though, history, like I said, has been very dark in nature. Right here, we can see a map of Wounded Knee. Um, it's very. If you don't know about Wounded Knee, in 1890, U.S. soldiers killed in cold blood more than 250 Lakota men, women, and children. The map above shows the area where they were murdered. Um, for a long time, history tried to spin this as essentially the U.S. did nothing wrong. Even today, many people still try to combat what what happened with, like, trying to throw out red herrings of, well, the natives did XYZ to each other, therefore we shouldn't feel bad for what we did to them, and that's just completely bull. Um, this was one of, if not the worst massacre that has ever happened on U.S. soil. Not talking about wars, just specific massacres. Because whatever you might think, this was not a battle. The photograph above shows the mass grave titled Burial of the Dead at the Battle of Wounded Knee. Again, this was not a battle, this was a massacre, and I want to stress that. Yeah. Um, the biggest thing here is natives in general, and especially the Lakota people, they've had to endure a lot. They've had to endure uh, government, well, physical genocide, and then cultural genocide, and these systems still exist today. So yeah, as I was saying, um, the 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 biggest thing is a way that people look at it. So the Lakota did not believe that they didn't have this Western like colonizer idea of what land was, like what resources were. Um, this is why they still are refusing to take. Uh, there is like a roughly like 1.3 billion dollar sum that the federal government uh, it has in a account for the Lakota Sioux. This is because of the taking of the Black Hills. Now, the thing that the government and other people who look through this like westernized sort of mentality don't understand is natives, specifically the Lakota, did not believe that like the land was sacred. So this is the thing, you can't buy back, like they don't want the money because then that would show that they've accepted the taking of the land to begin with. So it's a lot. Yeah. So there are 7 main subgroups for the Lakota people, that being Ogallala, Brule, Miniconjou, Hunkpapa, Sans Arc, Two Kettles, and Blackfoot. Now, some of those names, especially like Brule and uh, Two Kettles, those are like French names, not the specific Lakota names, but just a little bit of background there. Yeah, in many ways, our connection to the land and people has been lost. Among the Lakota people, the land was something that was part of the whole and not something that could be owned or exploited. According to a Lakota medicine man named Nicholas Black Elk, the vision depicted the 6 sacred directions: west, east, north, south, and above. This is why this site that you're seeing right here was called the 6 grandfathers. Unfortunately, as you can see, the disrespect for places like this had already occurred. Most of us probably know this as Mount Rushmore. It's actually the 6 grandfathers, and it is in the Black Hills, and it is a very sacred site to the Lakota people. Before the Battle of Greasy Grass in 1874, gold was discovered in the Black Hills of South Dakota, some 330 miles southeast. Custer laid claim to this discovery. This brought miners and prospectors to the area. The U.S. government constructed roads and railroads within the Great Sioux Nation, breaching the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty. This breach sparked several conflicts with Custer and the U.S. cavalry. This seems to be a repeating pattern. And this isn't just, you know, to the Lakota people, but to all natives in general. But in reference to this, historically, almost every single treaty that we ever signed with the Lakota people has been ripped up and spit out. Like, it's baffling the amount of entitlement so many people today have that I've even spoken to that don't understand America's history. Like, you have to look at the history, whether it's bad or not, so we can learn from that. Um, but yeah, so America not very good at keeping treaties. Unfortunately, even when we're looking at history and geography and the like like the cultures and the peoples from a specific area, stuff like this. So this is a TED Talk. I definitely want you guys all to watch it. Well, watch all of the videos in this story map, but specifically this one because this. Um, so among the among the manifestations of human intelligence, intellectual achievement, and the arts, belief systems, philosophy, and other forms of expression, culture is both a social system and a way of thinking. So what happens if a lot of one's culture is mostly erased and replaced with the mindset of another culture? You get videos like this that are trying to be helpful, but still spin the narrative coming from someone else, like coming from a non-native perspective. So this video pretty much paints it out that the Lakota people were like a sort of empire, and that's just factually wrong. Um, it just helps to pass down more half truths and misconceptions about the people, which then further fuels animosity and hatred for the people now. It's very toxic. Um, History can be found all around us, but it is mostly and usually written in a biased manner and by those that win, the people in power. Um, that's that's pretty much the crux of this. The Lakota people have been in a perpetual state of grief and generational trauma. Um, the realities of the people today, um, like they're essentially just haunted by hundreds of years of hardships and persecution, piled on top of the horrendous systems that are in place. It gives the people not much stability. And the thing is, it's like the society that we have today in this Western lens has made a, a sort of like a pact to pure consumerism, even though we live on a finite planet. And the Lakota people, they understood this. They understood that we needed to live in a balance between, like, things needed balance, nature needed balance, and I mostly feel like we just kind of miss that, like, collectively. Um, I think that if if we all gained a bit more compassion and empathy for one another and all living things, we could definitely relate to the the struggles of the Lakota people today, and that you know could lead to us all being better people in general. But yeah, anyways, to wrap this up, uh, thank you for listening to my quick and brief overview of the Lakota people and their struggles. Um, I hope that you will take a look at the story maps. There's a lot more info in that. Um, I'm not the best person at presenting, so yeah. I hope this was somewhat informational and you guys can take something out of it. But thank you and peace.